He returned after 20 years, but the town had already buried his name. The man who walked back into dust. The bus didn't stop long. It never did in towns like Ridgewood. Just a squeal of brakes, a hiss of dust, and then silence again. The man stepped down slowly, one worn boot touching the cracked pavement, then the other. He carried no suitcase, only a faded canvas bag slung over his shoulder, stitched and re-stitched too many times to count. Ridgewood looked smaller than he remembered. The wooden storefronts leaned forward like tired men. The old saloon still stood at the corner, though its sign now hung crooked, letters missing. The church bell tower rose behind it, unchanged, like it had been waiting. The man lifted his hat slightly, shielding his eyes from the sun. 20 years. 20 years since he'd been here. 20 years since Ridgewood had whispered his name like a curse. His name was Ethan Cole, and Ridgewood believed he had died. A past buried in fire. 20 years earlier, Ridgewood had burned. Not the whole town, but enough. The fire started at the old grain warehouse near the tracks. By the time it was out, 2 men were dead, 1 woman missing, and Ethan Cole was gone. They said he ran. They said he stole money meant for rebuilding the school. They said he left a woman behind with a broken heart and a child that never knew his name. Ethan had never defended himself. Because sometimes the truth doesn't survive fire. The woman at the window. Across town, Clara Whitmore stood at her kitchen window, staring at the street. She didn't know why her hands were shaking. She hadn't seen Ethan Cole in 20 years. She had buried him in her mind, buried him with the lies, buried him with the man she became after he vanished. Yet something stirred in her chest, an ache she thought time had erased. Then she saw him, walking past the old general store. Older, leaner, scarred, but unmistakably him. Clara dropped the cup she was holding. It shattered on the floor. And with it, the quiet life she had built. The boy who was no longer a boy. Samuel Whitmore was chopping wood behind the house when his mother ran outside. "Sam," she whispered, her face pale. "There's a man in town." Sam frowned. "Ma, there are always men in town." She swallowed hard. No, not like him. Sam was 21 now. Strong, quiet, angry in ways he never spoke about. He had grown up without a father. Ridgewood had filled the silence with stories, none of them kind. When Clara finally said the name, Sam's grip tightened on the axe. "Ethan Cole," he said coldly. Clara nodded. Sam turned away. "If he's back," he said, "it's not for good." A town that never forgot. Ethan felt it everywhere. Eyes following him. Doors closing just a little faster. Whispers that stopped when he passed. At the saloon, the bartender froze. "Didn't expect to see you breathing," the man muttered. Ethan met his gaze calmly. "Neither did I." He ordered water. No whiskey. He hadn't touched alcohol in 15 years. Across the room, Sheriff Harlan Boone stared at him like he was seeing a ghost. "Thought you were dead," Boone said. "Thought crossed my mind once or twice," Ethan replied. Boone leaned forward. "Why are you back?" Ethan's voice was steady. "Because some graves are lies. The truth no one wanted." Ethan had not stolen the money. He had hidden it. The fire wasn't an accident, it was arson. The men who died had started it to cover their theft. Ethan tried to stop them. One pulled a knife, another fell into the flames. By morning, Ethan was the only one left standing. And Ridgewood needed a villain. So Ethan became one. He left that same night, not to escape justice, but to survive long enough to prove the truth. It took 20 years. Father and son, they met outside the church. Sam didn't recognize him at first. Then Ethan spoke. "You've got your mother's eyes," he said softly. Sam's jaw clenched. "You don't get to say that." Ethan nodded. "I know." Silence stretched between them. "I never meant to leave you," Ethan said. "But I won't ask forgiveness I haven't earned." Sam's voice cracked. "Why now?" Ethan looked toward the courthouse. "Because the man who framed me is dying. And before he goes, he's ready to speak." Clara's choice. Clara sat alone in the church pews that night. She remembered the boy Ethan had been. The man he tried to be. She remembered believing the lies because believing them hurt less than waiting. When Ethan stood behind her, she didn't turn. "I loved you," she whispered. "I never stopped," he replied. Tears fell silently. The confession shook Ridgewood. Names were named. Documents revealed. Money returned. Sheriff Boone removed his badge. The truth burned brighter than the fire ever had. Ridgewood was forced to face what it had done. The man who stayed. Ethan could have left. Instead, he stayed. He rebuilt the warehouse into a school. He watched Sam learn who he was, not the villain, not the ghost, but the man who had waited 20 years to come home. Clara and Ethan did not rush love. Some things grow slowly, like forgiveness, like roots. On a quiet evening, Ethan stood at the edge of town as the sun set behind Ridgewood. This time, he didn't walk away. This time, the town said his name without fear. And the grave they had dug for him finally closed, empty. Right Finger watched till the end for a powerful message about forgiveness and second chances. Right Finger subscribe for more emotional long stories and cinematic narrations.